Are you waking up with new breakouts, thinking it's hormonal, and then blaming stress, thinking is it something that you ate, is it a new skincare routine, maybe you should remove dairy? No matter what you're trying, the breakouts keep coming and you can't quite pinpoint a pattern or a reason why. If that's the case, then it's probably coming from your gut. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through what I did to heal my gut and clear my skin, and the 6 steps that you can take to help heal your gut issues as well, so that you can order whatever you want on the menu without having to worry that what you're eating is going to be causing a new breakout. Hi, I'm Melissa, acne nutritionist, naturopath and mindset coach, and after struggling with acne for over a decade to finally clearing it naturally and for good by working with a naturopath, I made it my life's mission to help other women clear their acne too, and give you an alternative that doesn't involve a ton of side effects. Now I've helped over 50 women regain confidence in their skin and clear acne by addressing deeper root causes inside my Clear Skin Complete program. It uses a combination of nutrition, lifestyle changes, mindset work and personalized supplementation so that we can target acne at the root and clear the skin for good with functional testing and personalized support. In this video, we'll be talking about the science and the gut-skin axes, stool testing and answering the question of do you actually need a stool test or do you not need a stool test, the 6 steps for healthy gut, and a homework chapter so that you know what you can start doing from today to really help repair your gut. It's the same step-by-step process that I use with my clients and use on myself, so it's been tried, tested and proven. But something you should know before we dive in is that there's probably multiple root causes driving your acne, and it might not just be your gut health. And it's also important before we dive into any gut work that you have your foundations in a good place. I want to start off by talking about the science and the gut-skin axis. The gut skin essentially describes how the gut and the skin communicate through this bi-directional communication, so essentially how they talk to each other. This is through the immune system, hormones and chemical messengers produced by gut microbes. Inside the gut there are trillions of different bacteria, fungi and other microorganisms that are going to help you digest and absorb food and make beneficial compounds. Some of the microbes in the gut do actually produce vitamins such as B vitamins and vitamin K, which your body is going to use for energy, cellular repair, blood clotting. There's so many different functions for these vitamins that the body is going to be helping to produce in the gut microbiome. The microbes are also going to be creating short-chain fatty acids, and this is by fermenting dietary fiber. These short-chain fatty acids are going to help to reduce inflammation and really repair the intestinal barrier. When the gut microbiome is balanced, these signals are going to support a healthy immune system and a healthy skin barrier. But if the gut bacteria become imbalanced through poor diet, antibiotic use, stress, or even illness, this can lead to gut dysbiosis or increased intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut. And these are 2 reasons which are common in my acne clients. In fact, research has shown that people with acne have higher levels of gut dysbiosis, which essentially means there's more bad bacteria than there is good bacteria. So there isn't that healthy balance that we really want you to be having. And when we have leaky gut or gut permeability, then what this means is it's going to allow toxins and different molecules to pass through that gut barrier, enter the bloodstream, and trigger an inflammatory response, which is then worsen conditions specifically in the skin like acne, but even eczema. This means that your gut health is going to play a direct role in how your skin looks and feels. Because if there's inflammation in the gut barrier, there's also going to be inflammation in the skin barrier as well. So if you're wanting to clear your acne and have healthy skin consistently, then the gut is an essential place for you to focus on. A question that I get asked all the time from my clients and people who are just trying to clear their skin is, do I need a stool test if I'm trying to build a healthy gut? And the truth is, not everyone is going to need to have a stool test in order to build a healthy gut, but some people are going to benefit from one. Now for me personally, the first time that I worked with a naturopath and cleared my skin, I did a lot of gut work, but we didn't actually do a functional stool test. This was something that we were basing around my symptoms. The protocol that we went through, which I'm going to share with you today, was really successful. Now there are so many benefits to doing a functional stool test, and the main one is that it's going to be very specific in showing your specific microbiome, specific enzymes, if you have levels of inflammation and what is going on there, if you have any parasites, specific pathogens. Essentially it's going to be a lot more specific in the protocol that you will then be doing for your gut health. So if you're someone who has an IBS diagnosis, pretty significant bloating, other symptoms with changes in your stool consistency, if you have urgency, if you notice your skin getting worse after you went on holiday and got food poisoning, these are all different reasons that it's going to be really doing a functional stool test to get more deeper insights into what's happening within your body. If you have the means, because obviously this is a financial investment, then I would say do the test, because then you're removing the possibility for guessing with your protocol. However, if you're someone who doesn't have the means to invest in functional stool testing, which to be completely honest, I didn't when I was trying to clear my acne, then I base this more around symptoms by working with a professional. And that is going to be so important because you're not necessarily going to have the education that you need to be able to get right into the root of what's happening in the body. And if you do have something deeper happening, such as small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or H. pylori, then you're going to need a very specific protocol to be able to get the outcome that you want. And something like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, though not everyone has this, it's one of those conditions which is more likely to recur if you don't have the proper protocol or treatment plan following that to avoid this recurrence. When I had acne, I had absolutely no idea that it was driven by my gut. Yes, I'd taken probiotic powders in the past, but I'd done it because it was marketed towards getting glowy skin, another type of symptom, but I didn't have any idea that it was actually doing something to my gut to try and help my skin in that way. And it wasn't until I worked with a practitioner that I was able to get my gut into a strong place. And the symptoms that I had with my gut were mild bloating, my digestion was quite loose because I'd been vegan for a long time, but I had a history of constipation. Maybe too much information, but I talk about this all the time with my clients. So I've been vegan, so I had a lot of low enzymes. I wasn't necessarily digesting and absorbing food in the way that I needed to, and I had this really strange reflux feeling. So essentially I was missing out on the absorption of so many nutrients that my skin needed. I'm going to talk you through the 6-step process that I went through to repair my guts. It's also the 6-step process that I walk my clients through, and even though there is a method to this process, with every single person there are going to be nuances, tweaks, and personalized suggestions to make sure that it is more specific to your symptoms and your unique needs. Step 1 is rebalance. Now, when we think about rebalancing, this is really important because when we're addressing the gut, it's not just about the microbiome itself. Digestion is going to start in the mouth, but even more than that, we have to look at our mindset, we have to look at our nervous system, and we also want to look at the foods that we're actually consuming and how we are eating those foods. So within rebalancing, we really want to be thinking about removing those foods that are void of nutrients and adding in the foods that are going to give us so many different nutrients. Now, for some people, especially women with acne that may have bloating, increasing vegetables and different plant fibers is going to increase bloating. If you've noticed that you're increasing fiber and maybe your symptoms are getting worse, that's a sign that we want to do deeper investigation into what's happening there. But for a lot of people, we want to be increasing things like cooked vegetables, root vegetables, different fruits with the skin on, making sure that we're getting a diversity of those different fibers. And then once we have replenished those foods, we can then think about reducing the foods void of nutrients, which are going to be things like white simple carbohydrates, pastries, white bread, cereals, and just swapping out those things for foods that are going to be adding nutrition to the body. In that sense, we're also removing things that are going to be more inflammatory. Now, I know that we can have sugar now and again, and it's absolutely fine, but there is no debating that if you're having sugar every single day and in large quantities, it's going to be driving inflammation in the body. We may want to be leaning more towards gluten sources, which are better for the body, more so like sourdough, rye breads, and less of the white bread and less of the white pasta. We want to be regulating our nervous system. So we have a vagus nerve, which runs from the brain all the way down our spinal cord, and this is the largest nerve in the body, the longest nerve, and it is connected directly to the gut. So when we really support our nervous system, we are directly supporting our gut health. And when we make sure that we're doing some deep belly breathings or some vagus nerve breathing before each meal, we're getting our body into that relaxed state, meaning that the food that we're actually eating, we are able to then break down and absorb. If you're stressed while you're eating at your desk, eating in front of the TV, watching a really fast-paced show, you're not going to be in tune with your body and your specific signals. You're not going to know when you're full, and your body isn't going to be able to break those foods down as easily because chances are you're not chewing the way that you should be. So we need to make sure that we're supporting the nervous system, that we are looking into actually chewing our food properly so that we're sitting at the table and eating our food with a knife and fork instead of shoveling it down in front of the TV or whilst we're sat at our desk at work. You're chewing your food. Now your body is going to find it a lot easier to digest. It's easier to absorb those nutrients that your body and your skin needs. We're thinking vitamin A, zinc, magnesium, the sodium, the potassium, all of those essential nutrients that your skin needs for that healthy skin cell turnover, that healthy glow, that skin barrier repair. You need to make sure that you are actually able to absorb them from food. I know that you're doing so well with what you're eating right now. We want to make sure that you're getting the benefits. We also want to think about mindset here, because our mindset in terms of my gut can repair, my gut can heal, my skin is going to be clearing, and feeling like we can trust our body and that we know that it's working even if it's not working as fast as we would like it to do. That mindset and that positive outlook on life, where we're not complaining every single day, where we're being grateful for things, where we're not trying to distract ourselves by doom scrolling. These are all things that we might think, what what has that got to do with our gut health? But if there's something that you're doing that's driving subconscious stress, then again, that's going to be directly impacting your digestive system. You're not going to be producing the enzymes that your body needs. The food's going to be sitting there for a lot longer, and it's going to be fermenting, driving these bacterial overgrowths that we don't want to have. So just remember that your digestion starts in the mouth, but even before that, it's going to start with your nervous system. The next step is going to be optimizing digestion. We've started to optimize digestion with our chewing and our nervous system, but now what we want to do is make sure that the rest of the digestive tract is really prepared to be able to digest these foods. We want to be looking at increasing stomach acid levels and also enzymes. By doing this, we want to be thinking about if you have low stomach acid, which a lot of people do, you have low B6, do you have low zinc? With a lot of my clients, what I do is I will go in with certain supplements to help really support digestion, especially if they have been vegetarian, vegan, or if they have got high levels of stress, because we want to make sure that we can really support the actual digestion of those foods as soon as possible, because having healthy bowel movements is important for having clear skin. When we talk about bowel movements, we want to be going 1 to 3 times per day and have it feeling like a full elimination that's easy to pass, and that, like clockwork, you're going to be going every single day, making sure that you're not drinking liquids with your meals. So you want to wait 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after a meal before having any liquid. For me, when I was working on this stage, I really had to do a lot of work with increasing my stomach acid and my digestive enzymes, because I was vegan for 5 years before going through my gut health journey. I didn't really have a lot of enzymes to break down animal protein when I started to reintroduce it back in. So I had to do a lot of work to support my actual digestion to be able to get healthy bowel movements. The third step is removing infections. With this step, we want to have more information into what kind of infection may be going on and if there is one, because not everyone has an infection, and this would be pathogens, parasites, overgrowths, yeasts and different fungus that may be present in your digestive tract, in your gut, in your small intestine, in your large intestine, something like that. So if you do have gut dysbiosis, then we may be looking at removing pathogens. If you do a stool test and we know you have a parasite, that's worth removing. Also worth knowing that not all parasites will show on a stool test. Whenever someone is using antimicrobials, we want to make sure that the body is fully prepared beforehand. This is going to be making sure that your drainage pathways are open, such as you're passing regular bowel movements, your lymphatic system is moving effectively, you're getting in regular sleep, so your brain's detoxification system can work properly, and that you have repaired your mitochondrial health, so your cells are now healthy and resilient, your energy is up. We also want to make sure that your detoxification pathways are open, so that when toxins are released by the bacteria that we are removing, the body is then able to get those toxins out of the body. You'd also want to use some kind of binder to make sure that toxins can then have something to bind to. This is not something that I would suggest just doing yourself off your research online. This is a very specific step-by-step process, and like I said, if you are doing this yourself, it can be quite dangerous. Make sure that you're doing it strategically and in a really specific order. But like I said, not everyone is going to need to remove pathogens, in which case, if not, then we just move into step 4, which is all about rebalancing the microbiome. Because for some people, the microbiome is actually very depleted. So it's not a case of having bacterial overgrowth that we want to remove. It's actually a case of really rebuilding up beneficial bacteria in the microbiome. Because if you've had years of antibiotic use, then it will have wiped out a lot of the beneficial and the bad bacteria. So really, your focus is going to be on rebuilding that microbiome. And to do that, you're someone who is able to actually focus on eating the 20 to 30 plant foods per week. So you want to focus on 70% cooked and the 30% raw, just to make sure that your digestion is going to be able to handle that. You want to be focusing on eating rainbow vegetables. You want to have some leafy greens in there and also some cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, radishes, sprouts and cabbage, to make sure that you are working on the beta-glucuronidase enzyme activity in case there is high levels of that, which is then going to be causing hormones like estrogen to recirculate and toxins to recirculate as well. Next is giving your bacteria food with prebiotic rich foods such as onions, garlics, artichokes, white potatoes, and even green bananas and stewed apples, making sure that your beneficial bacteria have food so that they can continue to build a strong, diverse microbiome. You can also bring in some probiotic rich foods. Now, probiotics are the live cultures and the live bacteria, and prebiotics are the food for the bacteria. And foods that contain these cultures are going to be things like coconut yogurt, which says live cultures on the ingredients, coconut kefir, sourdough bread, sauerkraut, and also kimchi. Just make sure you're starting slow when it comes to fermented vegetables, in case your body needs to take a little bit of time to get used to them as the microbiome does rebound. Step 5 is all about healing the gut lining. when there is inflammation in the gut lining, what we want to do is make sure that we're really repairing the barrier. So we're reducing the inflammation and we're supporting the mucosal membranes of the gut barrier to make sure that it is strong. And when we are building a strong microbiome and eating those plant fibers, that's going to be increasing the short chain fatty acids, which is also in turn going to be supporting those mucosal membranes and building a really strong gut barrier. This is when we would start to think about having bone broth, having omega-3s, and if you're still having inflammation issues, then working on reducing some of those inflammatory foods such as gluten, sugar, and in some cases dairy. For me, at this stage, I did need to increase certain nutrients and have certain herbs to really support my gut lining for a couple of months really to reduce that inflammation and support my gut barrier. And this is something I do quite often with my clients, is once we have rebalanced the microbiome, we will also be supporting this repair of the gut barrier just to make sure that gut lining is in a good place before we think about bringing back in different foods, especially if you are someone that just have leaky gut. Then we want to make sure that your gut barrier is in a really strong place before we bring back in certain foods that could have been causing irritation. So for me, I used to react to garlic, to onion, and to tomatoes. Reducing the inflammation actually helped me then be able to eat all of those foods, and I still eat those foods today and I don't have a negative reaction. I also eat gluten now and again whenever I want to. I don't have any negative symptoms from eating gluten now and again. However, when I have gone through periods of time where I have gluten every day on a daily basis like I used to, I do notice that I do get some symptoms come back to the surface because unfortunately gluten is just going to be driving inflammation. In our gut lining we have what's called tight junctions, which essentially we want them to fit together like this so that they are nice and tight together, there's no gaps. When we have leaky gut, what we notice is that those tight junctions actually separate and open, meaning that different food particles and toxins can actually get through the gut lining into the bloodstream, which is where the immune response kicks in and we start to have more inflammation. However, whenever we eat gluten, there is a protein in gluten called gliadin, and that is going to be having the same impact on those tight junctions. So whether we have leaky gut generally or not, whenever we do have gluten, then this same separation of those tight junctions is going to happen. Now, if we have foods like sourdough, which eats away a lot at this gluten, or if we're having rye bread, which is a gluten-containing grain, but it's more in its whole form, then this reaction might not be as bad, especially if you're someone who does have a healthy and resilient gut. However, if you're having white bread, white pasta, or even brown pasta, brown bread, pizza, then whenever we do eat this gluten, we are going to have that same reaction. Finally, we have support motility, which is step 6. In your gut, we have both chemical breakdown of food, which is your stomach acid and your enzymes, and we also have peristalsis, that muscular movement. This is what's moving that food through the digestive tract. In some cases, this motility can slow down, meaning the food is just going to sit there for a lot longer, and this can lead to overgrowth of certain bacteria, which can be problematic. So this can happen if we are grazing all day, if we are stressed. We want to make sure that to support our motility, we're leaving at least 3 to 4 hours between meals. So we're not waiting too long so that our blood sugar dips, but we're giving enough time so that our body can naturally sweep the small intestine and it can actually digest the food that you have recently eaten. We need to give the body that break so that it can do its job effectively. The next thing is making sure that you are not drinking liquids with meals, but throughout the day you are increasing your fluid intake, especially if you are increasing your fiber. What fiber does is it's going to bulk out the stool. So if you're not someone who's previously eaten a lot of fiber, you may notice your digestion slow down. Make sure that you are increasing your fluid. We can also drink ginger tea. So getting the fresh ginger and boiling that and drinking that before bed. So drinking ginger tea is something that can support your motility because it's something known as a prokinetic. I highly suggest you implementing this into your routine. Like I said at the beginning, the most beneficial thing that you can do for your gut health and your acne is to get a personalized protocol so that you know exactly what's happening in your gut and exactly the specific steps, especially if you are someone who has had acne for a long time and you also have other symptoms in your gut. Now we're going to move into the homework section. Each one has lined up with one of the 6 steps that we've already spoken about in this video. The first one lines up with the step 1, which is rebalance. And this is make sure that you are taking a couple of deep breaths before you eat your meals. So before you start eating, take a second to just breathe in and breathe out to just calm your body before you start eating. Number 2 lines up with optimizing digestion, and this is focusing on your chewing, making sure that you're chewing your food properly and that you're giving yourself extra time with your meal so that you do have the time to chew and you're not having to just shovel it down. Number 3 is lined up with step 3, which is all about removing infections, but we can't necessarily remove infections if we don't know for sure that we need to. So for now, I would focus on removing foods which are more inflammatory and void of nutrient value. And if you've not already removed white floury foods such as white bread, white pasta, pastries, then those are going to be the foods that I would suggest focusing on first. Taking an 80-20 approach to this. So let's think about gluten and sugar in the 20% and everything else from a whole foods perspective in the 80%. If you were having 3 meals per day with 1 snack per day, you would be able to have these things around 4 to 5 times per week. So you still get in that balance aspect, but what you've done is you've significantly removed the inflammation in your body. Now, if you're someone who has already been removing these foods and you're not necessarily noticing the benefit, that is a huge sign that you want to be diving slightly deeper into your body and to figuring out what is happening inside the body, because removing those foods on their own is only one piece of the puzzle. Make sure that you're replenishing the nutrients that you are missing and that you're getting the support that you need. Number 4 is all about the diversity of fiber in line with rebalancing the microbiome. So we're focusing on 70% cooked and 30% raw. Focus on 1 dark leafy green each day, 2 cruciferous vegetables each day, and if you can, getting in 3 different rainbow colored vegetables per day as well. That's going to cover you for vegetables. 2 different sources of fruit is a minimum, but you can increase that if you want to, and making sure one of them is the berries. And then instead of having bread and pasta as your complex carbohydrate, we would look into sweet potato, white potato, brown rice, quinoa, butternut squash, those whole food based complex carbohydrates, because that's going to increase your fiber but also keep you really full and satiated as well. And you can also look into chickpeas, legumes, lentils and things like that, which are also going to be really high in fiber, giving yourself lots of different fibers to help feed a healthy microbiome. Number 5 is drinking bone broth to really support the gut lining. So with this, you'd want to be looking at brands like Freya, Bora broths. Those are going to be the best ones that contain the most collagen and protein. That's going to help support that gut lining and reducing that inflammation. Finally, number 6 is to support your motility, which will be drinking ginger tea before bed. And it's going to be better if you do it with fresh ginger, off a few slices and steeping that in some water, just to make sure that you are getting all of those benefits from the ginger. If you have loved this video, then you will love my free acne training called How to Clear Your Acne Naturally in 6 months or less without prescriptions or extreme dietary restrictions. This isn't just another masterclass that you're going to sign up to and never watch. It's your complete roadmap to clearing acne and maintaining it for good, so that you're no longer awake at 1 a.m, 2 a.m, or even 3 a.m. scrolling through Google and social media trying to find the answers that you're looking for in regards to your acne. It's also going to give you a step-by-step process from start to finish of the steps that I take my clients through when it comes to clearing their skin. Because I mentioned at the start of this video that the steps that come before gut health, and this free training is going to give you those in the exact order that I would suggest. So scroll down to the description box and click the first link where you'll be prompted to input your name and your email address, where you will then get instant access to this free masterclass. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.